Why are there so many scams in Bali? Why do so many people who scam in real estate get away with it? Why has scam culture persisted in Bali? And I have a unique and interesting explanation that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And why isn't there any correction to protect investors from scams? Now, every time we begin these conversations, often most people will eventually blame the government. They'll say that the government is this and the government is that. But it didn't require the government to fix a previous behavior of scamming in an adjacent industry. And let me begin. Not too long ago, the vacation rental market, before there were platforms where there were verified reviews, was a very noisy and polluted marketplace where there was a lot of scams happening. Many scams would begin with both sides, right? There would be guests that would, they would put out 40 or 60 invitations to different villa owners promising a deposit but never show up, thus depriving the owner of income on their peak seasons. And there would be the opposite. There would be supply side people who were hosts. They would collect deposits because they were very smooth and very efficient at getting guest trust, and they would remove then the deposit and not even have an actual property at all. So that culture went away mainly when there was a platform such as Airbnb, Traveloka, GoToBooking.com that verified reviews from actual guests that then was able to reduce that as a culture. Now, on real estate, we don't expect there to be reviews yet because most real estate developers are probably not going to be doing many developments, and the majority of real estate developers have decided to become developers because they've come from an adjacent industry. They're simply finding a way to divest their capital. So the reason scam culture persists is because overall in Indonesia, we belong to a shame culture group. What does that mean? In a shame culture group, basically, if you've been fooled and if you have lost money due to unscrupulous actions by a developer, you're probably not going to speak up about it. You probably don't even want anyone else to know. You're so ashamed of making a bad decision. The last thing you would want, even beyond losing the money, is to have everyone around you think that you are gullible and not very smart. That's probably the worst thing, number one. But if you take in contrast with a guilt culture, such as those that you'll find in Western Europe, America, those cultures are where a person who has been scammed feels no shame, and the shame or the guilt should reside with the person who does the actual unscrupulous action. So that particular insight is important to understand. Asians are not going to report when they've lost money, but Westerners will because of the difference in guilt culture versus shame culture, okay? Now, that's an important insight, and that could also explain why you don't see many negative reviews for developers that have already had a pretty bad reputation with past buyers.